Alright, so today we're going to be getting into the fun stuff. Right now, I am running a completely clean version of Firefox. And what we're going to do with this is we are going to install Tampermonkey so we can install scripts. And we're going to install Torntools. I am going to have to do a couple of cuts in this video or blur out some things because I'm going to have to make API keys and stuff like that. But I've been talking about doing that sort of stuff with y'all and showing y'all how all that works, so this is the video for it. This video is for scripts, how to start setting them up. We won't get to installing any scripts today, but we will install the Torntools add-on. So this is going to be the first video in a series of videos about scripts, where I'm going to do an intro today. Then we will do a competitive scripts video where I talk about competitive scripts I personally use, quality of life scripts that I personally use, and then our final video will be covering all the crimes and all the little things that give you advantages, but they're not related to combat really. So that's what we'll be doing today, and we will start by answering the question, what are scripts and add-ons? Scripts and add-ons are tools that you can install into your browser or application that you play Torn on in order to have different systems affect the game in different ways. You can modify the game, you can get extra information, other things like that. Most scripts are installed through a script manager, which we will talk about that in a second, while add-ons install directly to the browser. Most of the popular scripts and add-ons are capable of being installed in TornPDA, which is a mobile application for Torn that is designed to handle those sorts of things. It's worth looking into if you play primarily on mobile. That's TornPDA, and I'll have a link to that in the description. So we know what scripts and add-ons are, so how do we install the scripts? Well, for that we're going to need Tampermonkey, and that's what I'll be doing right now. I'll be going to this Tampermonkey site. I am currently using Firefox, so we have it right here. We will scroll down and we will get from store. Here it is, and we click Add to Firefox. It's asking for specific permissions. It's considered an extension, so it has now been added. And we're going to pin it to the toolbar, and we can see that we have a little button up here. Tampermonkey was successfully installed. A lot of things you'll see online is using older information saying that Tampermonkey doesn't work for Firefox and that you have to use GreaseMonkey. Both work. I have used both in the past. I just use Tampermonkey now for no particular reason. If you already have a script manager, either GreaseMonkey or Tampermonkey, there's no real issues with it. We can click here. Has a bunch of startup stuff I'm going to close out of. We'll close that. Alright, and that's all it was. We now have Tampermonkey installed. We just went to the site, clicked the browser we were using, scrolled down to get the stable version, and then installed it. It popped up with two confirmations, one for permissions, one for beginning setup for beta information. After we closed both of those windows, we now have Tampermonkey running. So now that we've gotten to this point, let's talk a little bit about what we plan to do with this information. There are risks to having scripts and add-ons. Scripts are programs that someone else has made that could technically do anything. There is an inherent risk to installing scripts of any sort, just as there is for any programs you install. For Torn, we have had issues in the past where people make scripts and those scripts end up taking your data and tracking them. So there are malicious actors out there. You can see I wrote cults in the description here. There have been groups of players that have like used this information against others or to manipulate others. I'm talking about 2 cases that I know of in the 20 years I've been playing Torn, but it is a risk that I do like to make people aware of. And of course, those risks also come from the Torn API. The Torn API is a system in which you can have data from your account or from the Torn website pulled directly from a API request, which is like you can put it in as a URL or other programs can use it. If you know about API, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you can rest assured I don't know either. But the API risks are that you end up giving more permission than you need to. We talked about this a little bit before, but I'm going to go ahead and show you API stuff. So right here are your API keys, and I will have to blur all these. I'm not using fake ones like the other video. These are the real ones, so I'll blur all those. But what we do is we click new key, and then we can have a key name. So if we have a script or something, a third-party site, whatever needs it, we can type in the name for that thing. So for this, I'll be doing Torntools. And then we have a amount of access that it can have, and this is what permissions that API key can pull from your account. Public only is stuff that anyone that is observing Torn, even like not signed in, could see. So like if you're online, if stuff in the forum, stuff in like general information about Torn, how many players are online, information about items, that sort of thing. Minimal is the next step past that. That tracks a little more detail. Not too much, though. We can see here it says that it's information not considered to be private. So I honestly have never even used a minimal access. Most of mine are either the public only or limited, and there's a few cases where there's full access. So limited access is what Torntools will need. This is going to provide all the information about your account, but it is at that moment. Full access is all the information of your account through your Torn logs. So anything you've ever done, all of your history can be pulled up. A great example of this is in the third-party sites. We talk about torn.report. It's actually compiling all your information, so it legitimately needs that access. Torntools is going to be tracking what our account is doing, so we will go ahead and make that. And I will add it right there, and we get a pop-up that says the key is created, as well as what the key is. And I'm not sure if I will blur that out or not. I am going to copy the key. If you just click on the key, we can see it's a string of characters. We just click on it to copy it to keyboard, and now we have our API key. We do want to be careful with these, but for these tools, I have never had an issue with them. I'm not vouching that they're 100% safe, but most everything I use is very popular and either really reliable players that have been around for a while and done a lot, or tools that are very, very popular. We did answer what API keys are, and we already looked at that, so we're going to skip over this. We kind of infused it with this risk of scripts and add-ons. I wanted to make sure I prefaced the risks of sharing information. But yeah, that's what API keys are. We already made one. So we're going to talk about add-ons now. Add-ons, just how we had to install Tampermonkey into our browser, add-ons are also installed into our browser and function from the browser directly. These other scripts will not, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. There are 2 competing add-ons that are very popular for Torn, Torntools and Retorn. Basically, any active player is going to be using one of these 2 tools. They're roughly the same thing. So for this, we're going to do an install of Torntools, but we will talk about Retorn just a quick bit. So I have a link right here to Torntools. We'll go ahead and click that. Here we have it, and we can see that the add-on is right here. We'll click that. That's the Firefox add-on. And just like Tampermonkey, we have an Add to Firefox right here. We'll click on it. It asks us to confirm our permissions. We're going to allow it and add. So we get a notification saying that Torntools was added. And we have a link to the extension settings popped up, and we're asked to pin it. So we are going to pin it, and I'm going to click OK on that. I'm going to click on the Torntools button that's now at the top of the browser, and I get welcome to Torntools. Please enter an API key. It says it needs limited access. We already made that. There's the API key, and we're going to set it. If we click key page there, it will actually produce a key for us to use, so it makes it a little more straightforward. But here we have our pop-up for Torntools. It's been brought up. Everything's running on it well, so we have it. What Torntools is going to do, we can see we have a notes section here already. We have Torntools updated right here. We're going to just refresh the page, make sure it's all good. We can see we have reminders here. If we go into our items, we can see we have this quick items section, and we can add items to it. So we can switch our temporaries quickly during pushes. We can add our medical items. We can add our Xanax, so we can be sure to use it. And I'll add the energy drinks I'm training on. We can click edit right here to turn it off, and then we can just use the items that we want to use right from the quick items thing. This is probably one of the better tools within Torntools, just that right there. I'm training speed right now, so we'll just do that real quick. We can see that we have these specialist gems. We do have a stat builds video, and I might put it up top, but I have a limit to how many cards I can put. I will put a link in the description definitely about stat builds. Since I'm Hanks for defense, we're going to put our defense gem here, and then we will be doing strength speed as our second specialty gem, and now it shows us what my stats are, what's allowed. We also have these little check boxes to make sure we don't train the wrong thing. We can see our steadfast right here. I want to be using the higher steadfast, so I'm going to turn that off so I don't accidentally train it when I'm not paying attention. Right here we can see that I am in ratio to keep both gems active, and how much I can train each stat in order to stay in ratio before I lose a specialty gem. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, there is the stat build video, as I said, so we can look at it right there. Another feature of Torntools I just want to demonstrate real quickly is the city map. Items generate on your map over time, and they're really, really tiny. If I turn off the highlighter real quick, let me find one with the highlighter on. Okay, so we have that spray paint right there. We'll turn off the highlighter. We can see it right there, but if we zoom out, we can't even see it anymore. We can kind of see it here. It makes it difficult to find the items. This highlighter just brings them forward, and even if we zoom out, we can just see everything. So we can pull items from our map easily. This is a small chance to get books and other rare items from here. If you put your cursor over it, you can see how it highlights the item on the map, so you can see where it is. There's a goose juice. I'll just pick that up, and that's quite nice. We can also see the value of the items here, and that's something that Torntools does a lot of. And in that respect, there's one other thing that Torntools does really nicely, and that is if we go to a profile, we get more information here, and we can actually add stats that we want to track. So if we look at this, we can see all of the stats that we'd see in their personal stats, and we can actually choose which ones we want to add. So the stats that I think are most important are Xanax taken, so we'll go to drugs, which I think I already scrolled past. Drugs, we'll get Xanax taken. Also for newer players, we'll want to know if they're doing their ecstasy. And then we will want net worth, energy refills, and stat enhancers used. So stat enhancers used. And other good ones is, well, where's net worth? Attacks 1 is good for activity. I don't actually see total net worth. Am I just missing it? Net worth right there. So now that we've done that, we can click this little icon to change what we're adding and removing. Go back to view custom list. And here we have their information. We can see what they have and what ours is. We can also get spies. So for this, we're going to need to have a third-party site. We have the video where we talked about both Yada and Torn stats, tracking those things. So we can get the Torn stats script, install it here, and then we will have our spies. We'll save that for another time because I also want to do battle stats predictor or fair fight scouter. We'll probably do battle stats predictor since that's the one I'm familiar with. So at a future date, we'll work on that. But that's another thing that's useful with Torntools. We can see here we also have multiple settings that we can check in. We can move things around in the sidebar. We can actually have a top sidebar. We can track the looting targets through here. All sorts of statistics to change. There's plenty of stuff in the add-ons. If we click on the hamburger tab for Firefox, we can go down to extensions and themes, I believe. And then extensions, Torntools, and then options right here. And we can go through all the information in it, all those sorts of things. We have top bar information here, all sorts of stuff. API key, we can change that if we want to. It's good to change your API keys every few months, just in case you see something. You can also add little notes to it. I'm not going to click it there just in case I do blur the API key. We've already looked at it. But this is Torntools. This is that add-on. And we are just going to go ahead and cover that. Now, Retorn is another add-on like Torntools. I don't have much experience using it, but I hear it is very comparable to Torntools, and that people who use it like it a great deal. So you would just do the same thing as you did with Torntools if you want to run Retorn. I think it's, from what I have heard, it's really, really good. And knowing some of Heasley's other scripts and things he does, he's very reliable. He's a good dude. So I would trust this if I were used to it. It's just a matter of habit for me personally. If you're a new player and this is your first look into scripts and add-ons, maybe try Retorn instead of Torntools. Both of them are actively worked on, so it might be useful to check them both out and kind of see which one you prefer. But I have heard quite a bit of good from this one as well. And as far as I understand, it is just like Torntools for many services. I don't know what's different actually. But I do want to bring it up because it might be an option for you, particularly if you're not a fan of Torntools for whatever reason, but you do want some sort of add-on. So the last few things we're going to talk about this video is how to view and edit scripts. So let's talk about that real quick. We went to Tampermonkey and we had installed that. So now we have a script manager, but we need to get scripts. Well, the place to go would be going to the forums, and there is an entire section called Tools and User Scripts. from here we can see all the scripts people post, and we can install the ones we would like to. So for us, here's Lazy Crimes. I hear this is like a one-click thing, so we can find the link to it, install it. When you go to install something like this, you want to make sure there's no notes at the top. Like here we have a commented out bug fixing settings. Sometimes they want you to put an API key up here somewhere. Sometimes it's noted in this kind of commented out stuff. But it doesn't look like it needs any API key, which makes it real nice. We're going to go ahead and click install. So we have it. We can see it says reinstall now because it is installed. And I'm not sure the Tampermonkey pop-up comes up right here, but when we're on the page where that script is active, it will show a 1. So you can see that 1 right there. That means Lazy Crimes is running. I don't know if you can see it, but if we click it right here, we can see it says Lazy Crimes. So does it work for pickpocketing? Yeah, lazy. So then we can just click it and it will just go ahead and pickpocket. We have 2 options here, one for working on key to the city, so it'll do whatever it needs to work on that, which I believe is a merit. And then lazy, it will just do what it thinks is best. Personally, I'm still doing slaughterhouse. I'm still looking for that $1 billion cattle prod, maybe one day. I'm so deep into it with nerve now that I can't really justify leaving until I find one. So we'll see if that happens or not. I'll post in the community tab if it does. But yeah, we can see, click lazy, it does it. Click it again, it does it again. So it does work. The script's running. The future series of this, we will be talking about all the scripts we use. I'm going to go ahead and leave that lazy scripts or lazy crime script on. That's kind of fun. I'll also link it in the video description if you want that one. In fact, you know what I'll do? I'll go ahead and take this whole table right here, copy it into a public spreadsheet, and then paste that in the description so you can make a copy of it or you can get on it and just click through all these links for everything I have. 90% of this should be accessible. There might be a few things that are like faction specific or things like that, but for the most part you should be able to get everything from these tables. So that's what I'll do. And I'll have that at the in the description at the very top before anything else. I'll have a little copy of this so you can go through and do all this stuff the way you want. Final thing I want to talk about in this video is script categories. I know that this video is running long, and I'm sorry about that. The reason for that is just we're kind of doing examples and demonstrations and all that, and beginner's guides I try to keep under 20 minutes. This one will probably be around 30 minutes now, but here we have my thread for my faction that I keep track of with everything that I think people should be using or things that might be useful to them. And I use everything that is on here or have used everything on here at some point. I want to talk about for the future videos these things a little more. If we see here, we can see that I do have the overhauls, the add-ons right here. And then our competitive scripts, I have little descriptions for them. So for the future videos, we'll be talking about these kinds of things. I might even just read my descriptions for each script. And we can see that the categories I have here for my faction are competitive. This is all combat and war related things. Quality of life, this is going to be mostly trading stuff, but I have it in different subsections to make it easier to find on this page. We have the kind of general use stuff. We have crimes here, and then we have holiday events. And you can see how that translates to the tables on this. We have our competitive, we have our general quality of life, and then the crimes and event stuff here. So that's what we'll be doing. I don't know if I'll be working on these right away. I am going to keep this copy of Firefox saved, and I will open it up to do videos on that when we do these demonstrations. But I think this covers a lot right here. So I think we might actually stop the video here. We did talk about what scripts and add-ons are. We demonstrated installing Tampermonkey, as well as we installed the Lazy Crime script. We talked about the risks inherent to installing things on your computer, which I know everyone on the internet already knows that, but Torn does have extra risks just because gamers are a different breed. We showed API keys. I did blur my API keys, or I'm going to blur my API keys. So I don't think you actually saw the string of what it looks like, but it's just random characters, you know. We actually used the API key to install Torntools, and I demonstrated several things in Torntools. There's a lot more to it than what I showed you. It's a whole array of stuff that Torntools does, but that was kind of general stuff I thought might be useful for new players. We talked about Retorn a little bit. We also installed that script, so we were able to see how that works. We were able to install it, see it be used. That was kind of fun. And then we discussed script categories and the logic behind them and what the future of this little series on scripts is going to be. I'm going to put all these in a playlist with the third-party site videos. I've already done the main one that I want to do, but I may do others about other third-party sites or kind of get into more detail about them. But anyways, that was it. This is the big video for third-party resources, and the scripts that we will be talking about in the future are all right here. They will be at the top in the description. And I really appreciate you watching this video. I think this is going to be something that changes new players to competitive players. A lot of Torn is not really how much time you spend. It's helpful for things like trading and stuff, but a lot of it is just knowing what to do and being able to do it at the right time. A lot of Torn is just activity instead of building up over time and spending time on it. It's just knowing when to do it and why, and you could be competitive with 30 minutes a day, but you need to know this stuff, and hopefully this video provides more access to more people and breaks that barrier of entry a little bit. So I appreciate you watching this. I hope it was edifying. I hope it was useful. If you're not using scripts or add-ons yet, hopefully after this video you start considering it, and I really look forward to continuing this series. I hope you have a good one. Appreciate you sticking with it even though it's a longer video. You have a good one.